further on Latitude and Rift Trust. We are an international firm headquartered in Jersey with 12 offices and representations around the globe. We have two main areas of focus. One which I already mentioned, which is the private client consultancy. On the other hand, a very important role and a very important hat that we have is the government advisory, whereby you'll hear me discuss the Malta programs where Latitude had an active role in the implementation and promotion of the programs when they launched. And furthermore, you'll hear from our partners in Germany how we're working together with the authorities and the municipality in promoting Germany as well. Latitude also holds together with Rift Trust, one of the few actually international firms that is approved by the government, holding the international marketing agents licenses for the programs that we offer. Without further ado, I'd like to jump straight on to sharing with you the two programs in Malta, starting off with a brief introduction on Malta. Unlike Germany, where it needs no introduction, I feel that I'll, for the benefit of our audience joining us today, I'd like to share a little bit about Malta, which is a tiny dot in the heart of the Mediterranean. It's the European country with 7,000 years of history. So we actually have freestanding temples which predate the pyramids in Egypt. 200 years of British presence, hence why English is an official language alongside Maltese. It also makes doing business in Malta easy, as the legal side of things, the documentation are all done and available in English. Population of just under 500,000, but then in contrast, over 2 million tourists visiting our little island on a yearly basis. That's pre-COVID. We'll see how things turn out once the world starts to open up again, and a very strong legal system that we're very proud to have here in Malta. Malta joined the EU in 2004 and in 2007 became a Schengen member, and a year after adopted the euro currency. We have a democratic government, and we say what we lack in size, we actually make up in the economy, in the credit ratings, and in the pro-business government that we have, together with the tax incentives, the tax regime that we have, that attracts a lot of the big players, a lot of the international firms that we have here in Malta. In the gaming industry and the fintech, and a number of international firms that choose to open offices, representation, and subsidiary offices here in Malta. As I said, being in the heart of the Mediterranean, very well connected. It's a nearly 3-hour flight to London with very good connections. A strong real estate market, again predominantly driven by the local demand, but also the foreign. As I said, we've got over 2 million tourists visiting on a yearly basis. There isn't enough hotels where to host all the travelers, and therefore the buy to let for the local market, but also the demand for the short letting, the Airbnb and what have you, continues to create a very buoyant and lucrative real estate market. Pristine weather, I mean, over 300 days of sunshine per year, so we're quite spoiled on that front. For anyone looking to make Malta a base. But for those who are not particularly looking to, quickly leave from the country that they come from, but still looking to have access into Malta and Europe, as you'll see me discuss with the programs, it's good knowing that it's a safe and secure environment, very, very low crime rate, and excellent work-life harmony. It's still light 8:30, 8:45 in the evening. And I'll let you know that we have a strong education system, over 100,000 students that actually visit our islands to take English as a second language. I know 100,000 in the greater scheme of things, but per GDP, that's like nearly 1/4 of our population in terms of students coming to Malta. It goes to say we have a strong education, English language centers, but also a very, very reputable health sector. And nowadays, this is actually becoming quite a requirement for the clients that we assist. So now I'll be taking you through the first Malta program, the Malta Residency and Visa Program, better referred to as the MRVP, which was introduced in 2015. And then with the feedback that we've actually provided to the authorities and to the agency, came some changes that made it even more interesting, and hence why today you have a very, very popular program, which is sought by a lot of South Africans. We assist a lot of South African and Arabs who invest in such a solution because not just the access that it gives, because of the benefits as well, which we will go through. I intend to go through as we go along. Starting off by explaining who qualifies and then what the obligations are. So very straightforward, who qualifies. This is open for third country nationals, therefore non-EU and EEA, that are looking to take up residency in Malta, and they must be, the main applicant must be at least 18 years of age. And that is what is required, together with showing proof and a declaration that the main applicant either holds 500,000 in capital, that could be assets, it could be a real estate valuation, it could be a business valuation. So as you can see, it's very, very quite flexible requirements. Or if they haven't got $500,000 in assets, a declaration that they do earn 100,000 per annum, which is earned outside of Malta. That is what deems the individual fine to apply, together with most of the programs requires is that important there's no criminal background. The four requirements, or the four obligations, I should say, that one must satisfy once they are approved, is that they must hold a qualifying property, and so that being a rental property or a purchased property. Most of our clients opt for a rental property because that's actually one of the flexibility this program offers compared to other residency, whereby it's mandatory to purchase property. The second obligation upon approval is to make an investment of 250,000 in government bonds or listed securities. But we'll talk about that in the slides to come, as to how the MRVA, or the government agency, I should say, excuse me, allows for financial mechanisms to finance, basically financing companies to finance that investment, to bring down the capital outlay, making this program one of the most price competitive from a capital outlay perspective in terms of residency by investment. The third requirement is a contribution to the government for the amount of 30,000, which covers all the family. And once again, that comes upon approval. So only 5,500 of that is required to initiate and submit an application. An applicant, together with all the dependents being included in the application, must hold health insurance, and obviously they would be going through a due diligence process that starts off with the licensed agents, ourselves, and also then the background checks carried out by the government agency. This is my most interesting slides from all I have to share with you today. Why? Is because I'm a firm believer, and being a consultant on global residency and citizenship, Malta and the residency program offers a number of unique selling points, a number of benefits that are not found in many other programs, such as the fact that an application can be initiated, prepared, and in many cases where there are representations, diplomatic representations for Malta, also submitted without even having to visit Malta. And the only time you are required to visit Malta is once you are approved, and then you're invited to come over to take the biometrics and receive the residency permit together with the residency card. Another interesting benefit is the fact that the program grants permanent residency, therefore, upon approval. So this is not a temporary residence and then you have to do the time to graduate onto permanent residency. You will receive an indefinite permit, a certificate, which is equivalent to the permanent residency, and on top of that, there's no minimum physical presence required. So the best way to explain is this is as passive as an investment that there is in terms of attaining residency, getting all the benefits and access, but without having to tick the box of having to spend X amount of days in the country of residence. In this case, there's no requirements whatsoever. Competitively priced in under 190,000. You're probably saying, how is that possible? I mean, one of the obligations was 250,000. How is that possible? Well, there's a financial mechanism, as I said, which in the slides, in the next slides, we will be able to share. No language requirements, of course, access to the Schengen country, and able to live as much and spend as much time in Malta as they like. And it also allows generations of families. We deal with South Africans, we deal with Arabs. They come to us with large families, and the moment we say, no, the price, the contribution does not increase because you have 4 or 5 kids, the 30,000 covers the whole family. And the only time it's a benefit, the main applicant and the spouse can include their parents and grandparents, and that's the only time that increases by 5,000 for the additional dependents, such as grandparents or parents. But 30,000 covers the whole family. And another interesting fact is it allows for generations of families. Not only can one include the parents and the grandparents, but also may have kids later on down the line and can be included. So the flexibility of this program, the fact that there's no requirement to also purchase property. You could rent a property for a minimum 10,000 per annum. That would be satisfying the requirement. Quickly to take you through the process, there's a 4-stage process. Stage 1 is compiling the application, which can all be done remotely from the comfort of your own homes. The second stage is the submission, so we check, making sure it's complete and correct. We will submit to the agency as licensed agents, whereby we'll go through a thorough check of the application. The third stage is once the applicant would receive what is called the approval in principle, and that is subject to, you're approved, subject to fulfilling the 4 obligations that I discussed there for the property rental, the investment, whereby we would, especially if it's financed, it's very, very straightforward. One would receive a contract note, and that's submitted together with the health insurance, and paying the contribution, the remainder 24,500. At that stage, one would receive what is called the final approval in principle, and there's an invitation to come over for the biometrics and the residency certificate, and 3 to 4 weeks after that, the card would be issued. So all in all, that's the program, the Malta Residency and Visa program. It's as I said, a very straightforward program. You know, we work with a number of agents, with a number of partners that also help us reach you, our clients, our prospect clients. But please feel free to reach out. We can hold a private one-to-one consultation if you'd like to discuss this further and get access to this very, very interesting proposition. Thank you for your time, and what I'll do now is I'll be explaining going through the citizenship program. So I will now take you through the Malta Individual and Investor Program, also referred to as the Citizenship by Investment Program, whereby our key executives actually had a role in advising the government and also implementing the legal notice and promoting this program. I'd like to start off by actually making a disclaimer whereby this program had a cap of 1,800 applicants, and it is now reaching its cap. In fact, it has. What the government has done is actually, one, is committed to renew the program under new regulations, but in the meantime allowed and made an announcement for a last call of applications with a deadline for the 31st of July. So anyone in this audience who are keen on attaining citizenship in Malta, which is actually citizenship in the EU, I urge you to contact me by not later than early next week, because slots are filling in very quickly, and I'm actually quite confident to say if we don't slot you in by next week, you will not be able to apply under this program. Designed to attract high net worth and talent individuals to Malta. So apart from the foreign direct investment, looking to make those business connections, and we've seen a number of applicants actually establishing setups in Malta. One of the only, I should say, citizenship by investment program that has been recognized by the European Commission. And the reason for that, of course, is that applicants will be going through through due diligence process that guarantees a reputable applicant is acquiring citizenship. In terms of what qualifies to apply is one must be of age, so 18 and over, and holds no criminal background. In terms of the benefits, some of these benefits, of course, but the ones I'd like to highlight is the fact that, you know, citizenship is for life and passed on to generations without needing to renew any permits. As they say, is literally a 21st century insurance policy in terms of having, you know, not just a plan B, but having the right of establishment in anywhere in the EU. So the moment you attain citizenship in Malta, you've got the passporting rights in anywhere in the EU. You've got the right to work, the right to live, the right to settle anywhere in the EU, and set up businesses anywhere in the EU, with access as well to our health education in Malta, which would be free being a citizen of Malta. And I have to also highlight the fact that from what's available out there as a citizenship by investment is definitely the most price competitive program out there. Just to give you an idea, for a single applicant, it would be just under $1 million, but an applicant that intends on including the family and kids is just over $1 million. But in comparison to what's available out there, the next one up would be Cyprus, whereby the investment, the capital outlay requirements is north of 2.5 million. And then the next one up would be Austria, where you're looking at around 3 million in donation, or 10 million if it's an investment vehicle. So again, the citizenship by investment program in Malta is definitely one of the most price competitive programs. The obligations, or I should say, what one must satisfy upon being approved. In this case, the residency has 4. This has 5. There's a contribution of 650,000 to the National Development Fund, a fund whereby Malta has been utilizing for social housing, for redoing all the road works in Malta, for helping certain charities. So it's a National Development Fund. One must again either acquire property or rent property, so there's the flexibility as well. One needs to also complete 12 months of residency, which is part of the actual journey before making it to the end, where one is naturalized and receives the citizenship. One must have 12 months residency, but that doesn't mean one must physically be 12 months in Malta. It's all about creating genuine links, and that's what we specialize and support you with. Holding an insurance policy for the main applicant, the family, and the fifth being 150,000 investment in government bonds or social or listed security. In this case, this cannot be financed. As I said, apart from the contribution for a single applicant is 650. One that looking to include the spouse and the dependents, there's additional contributions there that one must add, hence why it goes over the $1 million. And apart from that, there's the due diligence fees that are paid on to the government to carry out what is called BVRs, or background verification checks. The journey is based on 3 phases: residency, and that's where I explain that in this case, anyone that wants to secure a slot under these regulations, as we don't know when the new program would be launched and what the requirements or changes that would come with, requires a visit to Malta, take biometrics, and activate the residency stage. Moving on to the next stage, which is the citizenship stage, whereby we compile the citizenship application. It's a comprehensive application that one must put together. And upon submission, the government takes between 3 to maximum 6 months in reviewing, carrying out their checks, internal and external, with due diligence firms. And at that stage, an applicant would receive an approval in principle. To share with you a recent family that we had from South Africa, they've actually were approved in just under 7 months from the time of submitting the residency. So it only took us a month really to put together the residency, and then upon submission, the government took just over 5 months to approve the application. And that's where the third stage comes in, which is the passport stage. So that's when one would fulfill the obligations of the contribution, the property, the health insurance, etc. And there's an invitation to come over for the oath ceremony and the naturalization takes place at that stage. So that's the program in a nutshell. I would invite you, anyone that's interested, to get in touch early next week, to hold a private consultation should you be interested, and we'll be happy to assist you.